another Monday and another session on VCTV, which is the Venture Capital TV from LATOKEN. And today we have a very interesting topic to cover: social media, decentralization of social media, and we have some awesome speakers to share their insights about that. So we have Vandana, a regular speaker, Karthik, Jose, Gary, and somebody new who's obviously doing a debut on VCTV today. So yes, and welcome back, speakers. I always love to have you. And it's the last Monday of 2020. We have 3 more days before we finish off 2020. How are you feeling? Let's start with Vandana. Vandana, how are you feeling? 3 more days and we're done with 2020.
Yeah, I'm feeling very excited about 2020 ending and looking forward for 2021. And I think 2021 is going to be a great year, and universe is going to give all of us in abundance and connect all the dots in the ecosystem. So,
Oh, thank you so much. I hope that as well. Thank you so much.
thank
Jose,
you.
3 more days before we end 2020. How's
How's
the
the
sentiment?
sentiment? Uh, I think 2021 was a very exciting year, and I expect, or 2020, and I expect that 2021 will be even much better than 2020. If there will be a lot of differences, we will see. It's just starting.
Exactly, in 3 more days. Fantastic. Kartik, all set for 2021? How's the
Absolutely.
feelings? How are the feelings?
So 2020 was about a lot of slowdowns, lockdowns. I expect a lot more momentum, a lot more pace, and a lot more action in 2021. A lot more unfinished agendas that would go to project stage. A lot of projects that would hit the ground running, and a lot of business and money pouring in. We've had pay cuts
Mm.
and salary cuts and job cuts and reduced spends and everything for last 9 months. It's the time to go out and spend and go out and look forward to a better tomorrow. And that's the hope
Yes,
in which we all live in.
exactly. I'm looking forward to that happening for reality. Thank you so much, Kartik. Gary, how's the next 3 days looking like, and how's 3 days after looking like for you in
Well, I
person?
mean, 2020 was like the movie Groundhog Day. Did you ever see Groundhog Day? 6 o'clock
How
in
to
the
see
morning, you
it?
wake up. It's the same day every day. It was an old movie with Bill Murray. So, we've gone through an incredible digital transformation through 2020. It's been painful in a lot of ways. It's changed the way we live our lives. We've learned that we have some vulnerabilities, and we better understand those, and that as a global community, we all have a lot of the same risks. And so from that standpoint, 2020 has really changed the way we look at life. And it's really pushed forward with this digital transformation. Like I've said many times, there was 20 million, 30 million users on Zoom at the beginning. There are 400 million users today. So we've changed our lives. And 2021, this vaccine coming out, the acceptance that people have of this whole COVID situation has changed. It's not like business is at a standstill like it was before. We're starting to, step by step move forward, which is encouraging. So I'm excited about the opportunity, and we need to keep positive, keep moving forward, and look for opportunities. Look where Bitcoin is today, 27,000 from 10,000. So,
Oh,
just
great.
start moving forward.
Absolutely, Gary. Good to know that you are following Bitcoin prices. Thank you so much for that positive vibes. Everybody obviously looking forward to 2021. It was a painful year. We had to do a lot of changes to our lifestyle and the way we live. And, we had to very fast adapt to a digital medium to survive and network and stay connected. And we did it very well as a humankind, I guess. And VCTV has played a very important role in keeping us all connected. So great. So today's topic is about investments in decentralized social media, Facebook, Twitter, Google, you name it. And, the investments around it and trends around it. Today, I have a new speaker. I'd like to start with his introduction first. I just forgot. Before I start introducing my speakers, let me just introduce myself. For those who may not know me, my name is Sunny Mohanty. I'm the regional director of LATOKEN, and LATOKEN hosts VCTV, the Venture Capital TV. The whole objective and goal of VCTV is to connect speakers who are founders, entrepreneurs, and investors on one platform. So that's VCTV. So great. And welcome back again. And we're all set for 2021. And I'm really excited about it. Ravi from AHA Ventures has joined us for the very first time. Ravi, I would like you to introduce yourself for our audience today and other speakers who may not know you. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, Sunny. It's a pleasure to be associated with your entity and outfit, and I'm looking forward to learning and contributing as we go forward. I'm a senior venture partner with AHA Ventures. We are an early stage venture capital firm, and we are sector agnostic. So far, just to give a high level summary, we have made 63 investments, totaling 30 million USD. In the last eight to 9 months, we have done around 15 investments. So one of our focus areas is EdTech and how to see the content could be collaborated, say on a social media, decentralized social media platform. We have a couple of investments that I think I'll touch upon later. But yeah, the new normal is never the new norm. That's the new norm. So I'm glad to be associated, and thank you so much.
Oh, great. Fantastic to know about investments. So what kind of geography or regions are you focused on in terms of investments?
Oh, wow. Yeah, I missed that out. So yeah, so we are predominantly India based, but we get startups to pitch with us globally from Australia, Singapore, US, Europe. So though we are India focused, but we have an open, our platform is open for global startups.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, Ravi, and welcome to VCTV. Great. Next up, Vandana. Vandana, welcome back on VCTV. Please help introduce yourself to our audience. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, everybody, and nice to see you all working on the last day, last Monday of the year. First of all, I'm thankful to Sony and Carol for arranging all this all the time and always being at it and being chirpy about it and enthusiastic. I'm Vanna Tolani from India. My background says that I have worked in Singapore and Jakarta for 15 years. I had my own family office fund there, came back to India, did some investments, went back to advisory. Our company does a lot of fundraising globally. We are connected with 2,000 investors globally. 200 investors globally. And we are also connected to global companies, global startups. Our geography is like all over the world. So we are happy that anybody reaches out to us. We are sector agnostic. We prefer companies that are already have some revenue and not really, early stage ones. And, if tech ones come, we really appreciate those. And I'm looking forward to do some investments in decentralized social network areas as well. So anybody who wants to reach out to me, feel free.
Okay, awesome, fantastic, great introduction, Vandana. I would say it's very clear and very helpful for the startups who are actually watching you today. Fantastic, thank you. Jose, over to you, please.
So my name is Jose Graza. I've been a serial entrepreneur now for a very long time, for several decades. Became eventually a business angel, and from business angel I jumped into becoming a VC. Today I'm the chairman and the CEO of BizMoney Corp. BizMoney Corp is divided in two areas. One is the fund that we manage, and the other one is that we are trying to help especially talented people. That doesn't matter what type of business you are. We are looking for businesses that in any vertical, but essentially that you are at a very, very early stage and that you don't know how to manage things. So we're not an incubator and we're not an accelerator. What we do is we basically get you to a program, and that program you can do on your own time. And the idea is that in 6 months you start generating your own free cash flows, and also be able to know how everything works and start making decisions like Fortune 500 CEOs. So that's our goal. And we try to support all these initial companies that basically don't fall into a funding criteria. Thank you, Sam.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jose. for that words, because it's very clear for the startups as well if they wish to reach out to you. What criteria you follow, basically. Thank you so much, Jose, and welcome to VCTV. Karthik, over to you. Please help introduce yourself and the company and the kind of stage you invest in. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And as always, session number 34, and it gets better every day. Thank you so much for having me once again on the show with you. So I represent Middle East, primarily investing in Middle East, Southeast Asia, a little bit in subcontinent, a lot in Western Europe, primarily in UK and France. I represent two family offices from UK with an investment appetite of just about 600 million pounds. And I'm also a part of a early stage venture fund, a couple of early stage venture funds based out of Abu Dhabi and UAE, primarily investing into tech space, health tech, fintech, a little bit into e-commerce, primarily into edutech. The core focus, as I've always been talking, is about democratizing and bringing scale. So while we appreciate innovative ideas and we appreciate new developments, the core focus behind investment, considering that we come from a philanthropic family office, is about democratizing and breaking the reach barriers and making technology available to people at the ground level to improve life. And we've been fairly successful in this space, primarily in terms of generating both multipliers as well as in terms of a lot of goodwill in the business. And we continue doing that. That's where we come from.
Excellent. Thank you, Karthik. And always great to have you on our panels. And welcome back on VCTV. Great. Last but not least, Gary, over to you. Please help introduce yourself. I'm sure everybody knows you, but still, for those who just tuned in today, they'd like to know what Gary does.
Sure. Gary wants to know what Gary does. That's always a question. I feel like it's a philosophy kind of thing. Anyhow, I'm a serial entrepreneur located in Silicon Valley because I believe that Silicon Valley is a port to the rest of the world. I've lived in Russia. I lived in Russia 14 years too. So I'm not just, I've traveled around the world a bit. I've done 16 companies. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold for $1.35 billion to Salesforce about 19 months ago, and came from Haifa, Israel. And I'm also the co-founder of Viva, which is the next unicorn from my standpoint. And that was co-founded with my friend David Yang, who's a billionaire, Armenian Chinese billionaire located in Silicon Valley. I love artificial intelligence. I write a lot. So this year I'll ended the year at 107 articles that I've written on AI and entrepreneurship. So I have 2 books coming out. Thank you, Karthik. 2 books coming out on artificial intelligence. I just love it. And we're really sector agnostic, but AI is the new electricity. And in terms of Karthik's mission, the democratization of opportunity, I mean, we can spread the word using artificial intelligence to be able to help make the world a little bit better place. And that's our mission too. I'm involved in a $100 million impact fund out of Atlanta, Georgia, primarily for the Black community. We're looking across for sustainability investments, and we're looking for companies that want to go global, that truly believe, it's a misused term talking about unicorns. A lot of people talk about it, but very few people have done it. Well, we believe we've come up with a great methodology where we take operational roles in the companies to help them go global, and it works. And we have 16 companies, 15, 16, 17. We got another one. I'm just out of count because we just got one from
Right.
Korea. So the things are moving forward quickly because of this digital transformation. It's hard to go global, right? You get
Yes.
stopped at a certain level. That's where we come in.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Gary. And thank you so much, everyone. Talking about social media, we're streaming live on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, besides our website. I had to say, for audience, you can watch us live right now on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and on our website. Thank you so much. We are all set with the introductions. So again, the topic is very interesting. I would like to know more about this topic as well myself. So before we talk about investments, let's define what is a decentralized social network, social media looks like. We know Google, we know Facebook, we know Twitter. Are they all centralized or are they all decentralized? Twitter was subject to a number of hacks. I see people on LinkedIn, Facebook saying my account got hacked. don't accept any messages or meeting invites from me. So what are these? What are these networks, social media networks? Are they centralized or they decentralized? What are these? Angana, I'd like to start with you. Please introduce. Sorry, not introduce. My apologies. Please help define what is a decentralized social media network look like.
Yeah, definitely. This is my take and my thoughts. The idea of decentralized social networks has been growing in the past few years. In fact, in 2019, Twitter announced that they could end up adopting a decentralized approach as well. That having been said, I believe that decentralized social networks are the future of social media since they allow users to have more control, unlike centralized social networking platforms. In fact, some of the other benefits includes censorship resistance, ownership over personal data, and improved control over user-generated content. With the ever-growing technological presence in our lives and the growing fear of our personal data being stolen, decentralized tech might be the key to protecting our data, therefore inducing, demand for them. Moreover, due to the pandemic, most of the, globe has switched to virtual ways of living. Therefore, the increase in the potential of decentralized social networks to grow, will definitely make an impact. So
Right.
this is my short take on it.
Absolutely. Thanks for defining that. Karthik, over to you.
So I would
Same
take
question.
one step back from where Vandana started. If you look at the history of social media and of social networks, they begin as a peer-to-peer network for personal interactions with a view of reaching out to people in your ecosystem, sharing information, sharing content, and building human-to-human connect. Over a period of time, all of them got commercialized and became behemoths, which is where the problem started. Now, Facebook today tries to act like a big daddy and resists on posts. Apart from anything that Bill Clinton or Donald Trump says, they block almost everything. Twitter chooses to censor content as per its own challenges. And on the other hand, there are a lot of social networks that are prone to cyberbullying. There are a lot of social networks that are prone to cybersecurity, with a lot of ransomware coming in through open social networks. So, which is where a user today who came in for a person-to-person content or person-to-person contact is subject to a lot of either unwanted information or good dollars being spent by somebody on marketing. And I am one of those who spends millions on marketing and social media as well. So I'm one of the culprits. But there's a lot of money that gets spent on it. And as a user, I'm subjected to a lot of traffic which I don't want to. Now, when you start decentralizing it, which necessarily means that you break the clutter, you break the hold, you break the monotony of any one person, one server, individual control on the network, and make it very, very server independent, very content independent, very control independent, which means you will have right to post content, you'll have right to reach people without being censored, you would be able to secure your own data without the worry of being caught. At the same time, it opens up a lot of other challenges in terms of bullying, in terms of ransoming, in terms of threats, in terms of cybersecurity, and in terms of a lot of hacks as well. So while it works both ways, I think there is always a little bit of a caution. But in terms of privacy and in terms of opportunity, decentralized networks primarily are the future of social media, as it goes back from individual and social to a global and then falling apart into its own individual social networks. That's how I take it.
Thank you, Karthik. I really agree with what you just said. The future of social media is decentralized. Ravi, we would like to hear from you about this topic. So what can you share
Sure.
defining the decentralized social media?
Yeah, well, calling a network decentralized is what it is not. So it is not definitely a network that is run on a set of servers controlled by a company, right? So that's one way to look at it. The other is structurally and fundamentally, a decentralized social media network has to do with, at the end of the day, empowering. The balance of power is significantly tilted towards the users, right? And of course, like Karthik mentioned, they are peer-to-peer and federated networks. I think that detailed discussion happened subsequently, but clearly, unlike the traditional giants, be it Facebook, Twitter, which are increasingly running into regulatory and compliance issues with the governments, be it the US or Europe, asking them to be broken down into smaller firms. to curb monopolistic tendencies, the decentralized approach is clearly where the balance of power gets tilted to the user. And it is certainly not what we know traditionally what social media is. And that's the way I would like to put it. And I think, especially in a country like India, which is actually it's a collection of it's a continent, right? It's a collection of many countries, if I put it that way. Hyper customization and vernacular languages, and it really lends itself very naturally to decentralized social networks and social media. These are some of the thoughts that come to my mind, and I think this is where the world will move towards. But one cannot really take away the fact that the giants, the elephants that are sitting there, right, Facebooks and Twitters, will fight their way every inch of the way. They may just gobble up all the decentralized blockchain-powered social networks that come across the way. So these are my few observations.
Wow, that's a good end though. Like, you're giving power to the people, but also saying that giants might just gobble up the small players.
Absolutely.
Wow, great insights. Jose, over to you, please.
So, I'm known for looking at things at a very practical side always. And the problem, I think, starts in essence immediately. Who is building the decentralized solution of social media? And whatever you do, it's always somebody who is building that, and he does it for a purpose, and the purpose is to get profits out of it. So whatever we do, we can look at decentralized like having it distributed all over the globe and not having it under one corporation, or you can look at it like a X amount of companies that join together and manage it. Because the problem is like this: if you do something, for example, look at Bitcoin or the cryptocurrencies, right, which are really fully decentralized. Okay, still they are more or less being tried to be manipulated by groups that have a higher impact or a higher volume of those coins to dictate more or less, let's say, the price of it. But if we go at data, like in essence, like what you are posting at whatever you do. So if you don't have anybody who is basically screening it or taking over the control of it, how are you going to filter that out? That's a huge problem. So we can be in favor or against it. I'm in favor of getting it decentralized, but the problem is even the decentralization itself is not fully 100% decentralized, because who is then responsible? Nobody is. So can anybody write anything about somebody else and nobody is responsible? Can anybody scam somebody else or spam somebody else and nobody is responsible? How can you manage that? So this is the problem with what I'm facing always, is like, okay, decentralized, fine, but who is going to regulate more or less what is permitted and what is not permitted, and who is going to build it, right? Because if you're going to build it, somebody's going to invest into it. He wants to get his money out. So he always has some interest, either the data or whatever it be. So this is the way I look at it. I don't have a good outcome for this, really. There are a lot of pluses and minuses, but I'm just exposing it the way it is so that everybody can think about it.
Great problem statement from Jose. We can take that later after Gary's opening remarks on the topic. But I note that I totally agree with you, Jose. When we say power is given to the users, who is regulating those users? Very rightly put. Gary, over to you, please.
Yeah, so I mean, be careful what you ask for, right? So the Facebook, the Twitters of the world are out there to be able to make money. Now we have decentralized. So on one side, yes, your political views can be put out there, freedom of speech. You can say things you want. You can do a lot more, but at the same time, it goes to extremes on both sides of the equation. So, and then the other thing is, if they're decentralized and you're on a system, a network that gets shut down, what happens to your data, right? It's like there's no money. I mean, it's entirely free for all. So we want, on one side, we want the privacy. We want to be able to put our own content out there. And what happens if, I don't know, I think Kartik said it, or maybe Jose, about if you put content out there that's against somebody and negative or politically wrong, how can we control it? It's going to be, it's like the dark web. I mean, this thing could go both ways. So we got to be really careful. I'm not sure that's the answer from my standpoint. I think it's better to have other cybersecurity kind of measures, other AI measures that we can use to control a bit. But when you're talking about decentralized, what about the criminals coming in? You know, you could rate anything. What happens about, slander or libel? I mean, you can say anything and put it out there. So I've got some concerns. I think it's a great utopian idea, but the problem is implementing it and who's going to pay for it. I mean, if you don't have people pay for it, who's going to keep the network up and how are we going to have all the features? You know, it's funny because we all use Google, right?
Yeah.
And of course, Google knows literally everything about you. They know where you've been, what you like. You know, in fact, I've heard they can even tell when you're going to die. I mean, they know that much. And the situation, but we all use it because we want the convenience of being able to have information at our fingertips. If we had a decentralized Google, right? If there was such a thing, would people really want it? There's not a company out there that push it forward to be able to develop it to make all these incredible features. And I'm not sure that we're going to like what we get, right? In terms of a decentralized social network. It's not going to have the kind of features. There's going to be all kinds of, it's going to be like the Wild West. We're going to go from a civilized society back to the Wild West. And I'm not sure people are going to want it. It's not going to be interesting from my perspective.
I think very interesting points, Gary and Jose. Karthik, I'd like to ask you, how does it, just asking, anybody can take this, how does a decentralized Google looks like? Who's going to build it and who's going to invest into it?
So to answer Gary's question and Jose's question, a lot of review rating algorithms have been built around it. And again, it goes back, controlling a decentralized network goes back to controlling a social ecosystem. If we are a group of friends, 10 of us talking, and one of them is continuously bad-mouthing and slandering, the only way to keep them out is that nobody needs to check, but the group chooses to check. And that's exactly how a review rating algorithm works, typically, even on Amazon or even on any social network, which is where you start identifying a particular set of communication. All the participants are supposed to rate, review, and control. And on a very democratic way, content is either published or content feed is regulated, and which is one of the best ways to control cyberbullying and control content to a very large extent without a big daddy watching or without a big daddy controlling you. But in terms of investments coming into this, there would be a lot of, as what Ravi said, and I completely agree, there would be a lot of pockets of vernacular and regional interest, which would necessarily want a pie of the share for themselves, Google being vernacularized or Google being localized in some terms of certain processes or trends. Google being decentralized, I would wait for the monkey to jump off the tree for a while on that. But I would rather look at any of the social media networks at in an early stage to be decentralized, primarily from a regional or a local flavor or from a content control flavor. But my caution would be a lot of cyberbullying, especially children being exposed to the network, children accessing network, especially video and motions and networks or file sharing networks or even content sharing networks. So a lot more regulation needs to be built in before allowing decentralization. Otherwise, it's primarily going to be a dark web, as Gary suggested.
The Wild West. Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Karthik. And I think we're moving in the right direction. Vandana, everybody thought that decentralized social media networks are going to be foolproof, but it seems like it's not. So what are your thoughts? Who is going to build it? Who is going to invest into? And as Karthik said, Gary and Jose, localization, regional, going regional is something that, the big players may do in the future, but we don't know yet. So what's your views on that?
So my take here is if we take the current investor sentiments towards the decentralized social networks, I think they are fairly positive due to the lockdown. And I believe that they will rise in the future with the increased technological dependence and so on. For instance, snapping. I don't know if you've heard about snapping. Although it is not decentralized social network per se, but it had a quite fruitful year and experienced a 52% increase in total revenue. Twitter, Pinterest, and Zoom too experienced fruitful years due to the sudden increase in social media consumption. So these companies hold a larger market share compared to the decentralized social networks, which have comparatively less users as of now. The most popular decentralized social networks at the moment are Diaspora, Minds, and Mastodon, and only a few million users as compared to Facebook and Twitter, which have above 1 million users. However, like I mentioned earlier, that growing privacy concerns when it comes to centralized networks maybe, may give the demand for these networks, a push. So, who knows that instead of Twitter, we'll be using Mastodon. So, for the people who don't know what is Mastodon, it's a decentralized social network similar to Twitter.
All right. Okay.
So,
Thank you, Vandana. Thank you, Vandana. Sorry, I'm done because I thought I got started breaking up a little bit. Thank you, Vandana. Ravi, next I
Yep.
have. So obviously we have two sides of the coin now. We were thinking that decentralized social media networks are probably not subject to cyber attacks and cyberbullying, but we see that there are two sides of the coin. Would you like to share your insights as well with that?
Absolutely, Vandana. There are like two sides of the coin. And I do agree that given that the decentralized social networks are kind of still in the early stage, if you want to talk in terms of evolution. But you know what? Some concerns are valid, and but the thing is this, right? It is akin to draw an analogy of what blockchain was 5 years back. There are a lot of naysayers, there are a lot of doubting Thomases. But having said that, the essence of a decentralized social network is that I would like to characterize it by two M's to answer all the issues that have been raised. One is moderation, right? You still need some level of curation, and there's this concept of instance, right? Because the administrators and the users can themselves moderate it, and there are governance mechanisms around that. Number one. Number two, monetization, right? Of course, you need some costs of hosting the servers and so on and so forth, and development costs. But clearly, at the end of the day, I believe that blockchain-powered decentralized social networks are the way to go ahead. If that is the case, and blockchain as a technology has been proven in contracts, in legal contracts, in financial transactions, so on and so forth, and it is kind of getting well established as we speak. Similarly, I feel that as of now, yes, there will be some issues that need to be addressed out on the table, but I believe that there are effective ways to moderate and to monetize. Govern it, and even at the end of the day, the each decentralized social network could be through a machine learning technique called as a clustering coefficient. You can look at the efficiency and the impact and so on and so forth. But that's a topic in itself. But having said that, I believe that just like any new technology, it is fraught with great potential. Also, there are lurking dangers around it, but it's up to the user community. What model do you want to go with? I believe that I also would like to second the thought that there's a lot of investor interest in decentralized social networks. Even in India, within our ventures, we have made a couple of investments, and I have seen in the last 2-3 years in India, there are at least half a dozen such decentralized social networks which have got early stage funding. So these are some of my thoughts.
Great points, Ravi. That brings me to the next question. As you said, you as a company, you made some investments, early stage investments. Jose, I think I can hear myself talk. So early stage investments into decentralized social platforms. That brings my next question, and Jose, over to you. So what are the recent investments or successful use cases that you've seen this year, 2020, that you'd like to share with our or the founders and entrepreneurs who are looking to raise funds and other investors? Thank you.
Well, let me put it like this. Everybody always talks, because this is also the topic of VCTV, right? Which is fundraising, raise funds. But the problem is much broader. And the problem is it's not only about the funds. It's also about you being able to monetize those funds and you having the knowledge to bring it forward. So um, the way I look at it, it's very practical. It's like funds are just a small piece of the cake to help you to make it happen. But in essence, it's up to you to really make it happen. Nobody is going to do the job for you, or nobody is going to even, let's say, but they can give you some guidelines. But there is no magic wand for anybody, for any business at all. You can have like 1,000 cafes as an example. Small, I think cafe or restaurant is the most common business in the world, probably. And you can look at it, and you can imagine and see that if you pick all these thousands, right, they all have slightly differences. And if you take one road and you put like 100 of these cafes or restaurants, why is one more successful than all the other 999, right? Or 99. So this is the issue. So it's all about the ingredients and the mix that you are able to bring to the table. Now, back to what you asked for. I don't have any specific case studies that I have watched in the last year. But what I have seen in this environment of social media is that a lot of even big giants have tried to get in and they failed. So it's not a question of small companies. You know, we all know that a few big giants tried to get into social network and they were not able to get foot on the ground really, and they gave up. So it's about the mix that you put together, and that makes it happen. I don't know if people love Facebook. What I can tell you is like this. I think most of the people that are stay on Facebook is because they want to stay connected with their friends and family. So if somebody else would come up with, let's say, a similar offer in a different type of mix or business model, maybe they would switch. You know,
Yeah. I mean, I just had to say, like, the thing is, Facebook has got the first mover advantage, and I think they have. I think there are some other players also have seen in the market which try to replicate a Facebook, but I wouldn't switch. And there were some players. Remember, Karthik, the Indian version of Facebook? If you're or something like that, I used to use it like ages back. That sort of disappeared from the market. I don't know what it. Oh, and high five and all those stuff. So I think Facebook has got a first mover advantage. Besides other points that I like my speakers to talk about it, the Gary successful use cases, investments 2020, and the trends for 2021 in terms of decentralization of social media networks. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, the situation is, go back to MySpace, right? MySpace was one of the first ones in, and they died, right? So
Yeah.
it's they started Harvard. So Facebook started Harvard University, connect students from Ivy League schools, and it grew and grew and grew. The concern I have is that they get advertising dollars, they're able to build a network. And Jose's right. I mean, I use it personally, Facebook, primarily for close friends. I have 5,000. I'm actually maxed out on Facebook, and contacts that I want to have. So I like it, so it's a balancing act going down through it with, regulation, with being able to say what you want to say. But as I said again, I'm not sure I want to hear everything, on the fringe of what people have to say, whether it's politics or, a viewpoint. I'm not sure it's that interesting for me personally. I'm not that interested in hearing it. So in terms of the investment side of it, so I'm intrigued, but I'm not going to invest in decentralized like a Steam. It's just not there. Look at Steam, for instance. Steam, they're betting on the come. It's not about now. It's about what the future's like. I'm not sure about this idea of sharing tokens to get on a social. I'm inundated with information, just like everybody here. We got so much data coming at us. I'm not sure I want to have another social network where I'm exchanging tokens because I'm publishing information. I don't know. It's enough. I'd rather have my intelligent AI assistant help me go out and get on the networks and help me monitor it. And if there's stuff that's may not be interested in, know that and just give me the stuff that I want. That's where it becomes more interesting for me. So if we have intelligent assistants, it could change everything. So what does it look like in terms of this year? I think that, we've got some, especially on the US side with Biden coming into office, there's going to be a lot of reconciliation. It'll be interesting to see over the next 6 months what happens in the States. And, it's funny because I remember when Facebook was Zoom, right? I remember when these companies were just getting started. I remember my friends talking about Zuckerberg, personally talking about his house in Menlo Park, and this cool company. It's just, now that these companies have just had an incredible amount of success, right? And they've given us something, windows into our past, something that we didn't have. How could you connect with your friends from high school or elementary school yesterday? I had my friends from elementary school that I studied with in 6th grade. They put a picture up on Facebook and they started coming in and talking about this picture. I haven't talked to some of them for years, years. And it was so interesting. So anyhow, it remains to be seen on this decentralized, from my standpoint, with the social media, what's going to happen. My gut feel is it's probably not. And going to be a dominant feature because there's too much fringe involved. You're going to start getting folks concerned about that. And it's going to be like from my standpoint, kind of like a dark web activity, because it can go any way with it, right? You can talk about anything. And I think the regulators will come in and they'll start shutting them down. So, and the other thing is, who's going to pay for it? I don't want my data on some server and then it disappears, right? Oh, well, I'm going to do something else. Hasta la vista, baby, forget about it.
Great. Thank you, Gary, for those insights. Really appreciate that. I mean, exactly. I mean, not everybody is into decentralized social media networks. Karthik, over to you. Successful use cases, investments in 2020, and your recent investments or future investments in the space. But before that, you said that because we had a discussion, like Jose mentioned, the social media networks like Facebook, likes of Facebook, like I mentioned, I used to use High Five, MySpace, during the same time I was using Facebook maybe, but I don't use them anymore because they don't exist anymore. So you can just touch base on that and then go on the topics. Thank you.
Like Gary said, I'm going to be a little more cautious on this sector, primarily because while there is a lot of future, revenue streams, profitability, income, or user base is something that still remains a very gray area. There's a lot of uncertainty. Any social network primarily grows because of its feed. It grows primarily because of its content relevance, and it grows because of a variety of content. The moment you start decentralizing, while you will have options, you will be siloing a lot of content into which means bringing a user back onto the platform would only be relevant for a first few weeks, first few months. Beyond that, once the novelty wears off, users would go back to where they find a lot of variety, which is where social media networks or social media channels rather differ a lot. So considering that a decentralized network would have a vague or a weird mix of content on it, I foresee a challenge of user retention. I foresee a challenge of repeats. I foresee a challenge of average screen time or average dwell time, as they call in this business. So I would be very careful and very wary of this. I haven't come across a lot of use cases or investments, especially coming in from Middle East. Also because Middle East is neither an incubator or a catalyst in the social media space. It's a very strong consumer of social media. It's not a very strong developer of social media. So I would wait for somebody to take a leap, see it, maybe gestate for a period of 2-3 years, and then if there's an investment opportunity in the fringe, not in the core of social network, but on the fringe in terms of any allied services that go either in content creation or in cybersecurity or even in moderating and monitoring those platforms, then that would be a good opportunity to invest. Owning a platform of this nature or owning into investing or creating peer-to-peer networks, I would rather stay away from it for a while.
Fantastic. Thank you, Karthik. So startups, Karthik is cautious about investments in the space. Ravi, you mentioned that you have recently made some investments in decentralized social media network. Is India a consumer or a developer of social media networks? Because Karthik said Dubai Middle East is a consumer, not much a developer. So your insights, please.
Yeah, Vandana, it's both. There are a
Sorry,
lot
my
of
name is Sunny. Ravi, sorry to
sorry,
correct.
sorry, Sony.
It's
Yeah, hi,
okay.
Sony. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, given our historically, India has been a tech powerhouse. So we have developers, and we have given our population base, it's only second to China, and given the increasing penetration of digital assets and platform, like Vandana pointed out, the pandemic has kind of leapfrogged. I think in the next 3 years, what digitization would have happened, the magnitude has happened, it shrunk in 9 months. Given all that, two, three things. One is what Jose mentioned before I come to the use cases. Jose mentioned the mix, right? At the end of the day, a particular decentralized social network has to solve a problem, right? And clearly that's part of the use case. Unless it doesn't solve a problem, it has no business potential. B, reacting to Garcia for a minute, at the end of the day, it's up to the individual. It's a personality of that particular individual, right, or the person. Some people are more social. They spend time on networks. Today, it's all digital networks given the pandemic, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, if you are a loner and if you don't want to socialize, you can have a virtual assistant. And I was just seeing a news feed on CNN, wherein a sportsman from Eastern Europe divorced his robotic wife just a couple of days back. But having said that, if you look at it really, look at something like Reddit. Now, Reddit is also a kind of decentralized social platform, right? Now, Reddit is pretty popular, and it has stayed so in the last 3, 4, 5 years. The trend has remained strong, and it's going stronger. Now, if you look at the use cases, I can talk about 2, 3 use cases very quickly, a second each. There's something called as Hubhopper, which is a decentralized podcast platform, one of the biggest in India. And last 2, 3 years, it's growing exponentially. The last 6, 7 months, it's gone to the roof. All the user metrics that Karthik wanted, right? And second one is Do Your Things. Now, Do Your Things also is on the verge of looking at explosive growth. The one that I am most familiar with is one of the portfolio companies of our ventures. It comes close to a decentralized social network platform. It's called as Bolo India. India is India with a Y, but Bolo for others who are not Indians are nothing but talk or speak. So we looked at Bolo India late last year, and we, along with a couple of lead investors, i.e. Inflection Point and Eagle 10 Ventures, we have put in close to $1 million and more together, and their metrics are really going to the roof, and they've just started to scratch the surface. They have user content in 3 languages as of now, which is Hindi. Of course, English is there, Tamil and Telugu. And if you look at the user metrics, they have 20 million users already, and 93% retention rate. It's monetized, all the metrics. It's checking off all the box. But at the end of the day, at our ventures, we look at a decentralized social network as one of the technology that is upcoming, powered by blockchain, solving a particular use case. And this is how I foresee a strong trend going forward for decentralized social network. But this will be hyper local, and this would vary by country to country, state to state, geography to geography. Therefore, you want to know the use cases will take a lot of research, right? It's not like one size fits all.
Great, Ravi. Bolo India. Ravi his venture has recently invested into that decentralized social platform. Any questions from any speakers for Ravi? Bolo India. Karthik, any questions?
So how does the revenue stream, obviously you wouldn't want to divulge that, but how does the revenue stream and user acquisition work in a platform like this? And what kind of matrices would you use to evaluate a platform for a geography which is that big with such diversity? How do you even propose to bring uniformity in content? If at all
Yeah.
there is a reason to bring uniformity.
Well, multiple questions. I'll take one at a time, Karthik. See, one is that the way the content creators earn up to, this is INR, right? Rupees, 6,000 rupees for every 60 bytes. To put things very simply, Bolo India is like a mini version of TikTok. right? These are short format videos that are being curated by the creators and then their subscribers. So the revenue model is twofold. One is subscription based. The other is, there's a little bit of ad revenue coming in. But clearly, this is something that has worked in terms of this. That is the first question. The second question was, how do you if I just, can you jog my memory, Karthik, what was the second and third aspect of your?
The first question was revenue. Second
Yeah.
was matrices to measure early trends,
Okay,
because a
got it.
platform of this nature would only start showing you friction by the time you've reached 18 to 24 months. So how would you see early trends as to whether this is becoming profitable or not, or whether this is moving in the right direction? And the third is, how would you try and curate content or allow content curation on a platform or in a country of 1.3 billion with such diversity? Because you're talking about a nationwide platform.
Right.
Yeah, thank you,
So,
Karthik, for this question. Ravi, sorry to interrupt. I hope I haven't put you on the spot and you're able to answer this question.
And
Otherwise,
if
you can
any
take
of
it
them are
offline as well.
confidential, if any of them are confidential, I wouldn't want to, force you to divulge information at all.
I totally appreciate your sensitivities, but I think these are easy ones. There's nothing, I will not reveal any confidential information also. But in terms of metrics quickly, if you look at the number of downloads, currently there are 70,000 plus downloads in Google Play Store and OEM Play Stores, number one. Number of actives or installs, almost 78% of the user base, which is 20 million. We track it month on month, and there's a clearly an increasing trend that we can see. Number of daily active users are more than 15,000, but as of now, it's only 3 languages, 2 vernacular languages, which is Tamil and Telugu. Hindi is a national language, but the daily spent time metric, for example, is around 15 minutes, and daily videos contributed are almost north of 700 per day. So these are some very interesting metrics, and these metrics we are tracking from the last 9 months. It is going through the roof. It is increasing exponentially because of the pandemic, partly, and largely because of the proliferation of digital devices. Coming to your last query as to how we can curate it and stand, see, this is a democratic platform, right? At the end of the day, of course, I'm sure that it's a small team of 10 people. They're going to expand the team and also enhance the product. That's the reason why they raised the pre-series A funding from us. But clearly, I think the content curators, they get paid by the number of views and the duration of the views, the frequency. And so I think there's a default incentive system which makes one creator to come up with their short video format of 70 seconds that is engaging and that is compelling, and also that people would appreciate, looking, depending on whether it's a movie, sport, technology, finance, whatever your area of interest is, the mix, as I would like to call it. This is how it is, but more details, what I can do is I can share it offline with you, Karthik.
That sounds exciting. Thank you. Thank you so much, Ravi. Thank you.
Thank you, Ravi, and thank you, Karthik, for being such a sport and answer. This is I put Ravi on the spot, and so did I do with Karthik as well. But you put it very well, both of you, and we got really good insights from Ravi as well. Because this is for the benefit of the entrepreneurs and founders and the investors who are in double mind or confused about the investments in the space. So these insights are very good for them. Vandana, we're conscious of the time now. Vandana, your closing remarks for the topic today and your, don't forget, best VCTV 2020 moments so far.
Thank you, Soni, once again for bringing me to this platform. So my closing remarks for the topic are: this market is futuristic and upcoming, and with growing concerns about misinformation, loss of privacy, and data misuse on social media platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, the demand for decentralized social networks is on the rise. And a number of blockchain startups are working on this problem and forming better personalized solutions, are expected to be brought in the market by 2021. And the further growth of the market will depend on how severe the pandemic is, and what are the main reasons in social media networks that are growing due to the pandemic. So this is my take for 2021. And coming to the best VCTV moments, firstly, I'm very happy to meet all of you here. And like Gary once said, it's a therapy session. Yes, it is, because like-minded people come on this platform, and there is a lot of intelligent talk that happens here. So for intelligent people, yes, that is a therapy session. So which is rightly said. And my best VC TV moments are, the deep tech one, where we were three women on that platform, and we were speaking about deep tech, where women are not so much encouraged to come on that platform. So once again, thank you to all of you, and thank you, Sony, Carol, Gary, Jose, Karthik, Ravi Shankar, and wish you all a very happy new year from my end.
Thank you, Vandana. Intelligent platform for intelligent people. Thank you so much. I really like that. We should use that tagline more often now. Jose, over to you, please. Closing remarks and best VCTV moments.
So my closing remarks goes to the amount of data that is on the web that you have no control over. So I can tell you that a lot of data is stolen from you, either your phone or your address or your mentions, whatever it is. But there's a lot of non-authorized usage of data that belongs to you on the web. And once you become slightly a more public figure, or you get on the social media or whatever it is, or even if you set up a company and you have a domain, immediately there are a lot of people that take that data, right, and they use it without your authorization. So I think it's time that we start doing something about it. In some cases, you may even need to grab a lawyer to get the case solved. And the main reason I feel that they want to break up these big companies in social media is exactly because of that problem, is that they want to have at least a minimum control over what the data is doing and how it's going to be managed. And that's the problem. So that's my closing thoughts for people to think about. Then, my preferred VCTV show, I would say every time I'm on VCTV, it's a preferred show. There is no show that's better than the other one. They're all nice, and I love them. You know, every time I have a new one, I love it, and I really enjoy it. So thank you, Sonny.
I agree, Jose. Even I can't choose from the sessions that I host which one is the best moment. I agree to Jose, and thank you so much for your closing remarks. Again, that's a question that you're leaving open for our audience and other speakers. Karthik, your closing remarks again, and the best moments besides the one-on-one moment that the impromptu session that we had.
I'm coming to that. So I look at this a little differently. I think social media as a space, or social networks as a space, is going to be very interesting. Decentralized, not decentralized, I'll let time, revenue streams, profitability, and success matrices decide. There is a lot of investment coming in terms of content creation. There's a lot of investment coming in terms of social marketing. There's a lot of investment in bridging social ecosystems with multiple networks. So I think that the sector is going to be very, very bullish for next few years. So we would continue to observe the space. I wouldn't put dollars at the moment, but I would continue to observe the space where one would need to. Social media continues to be a great space to be. In terms of my best moments, every time you've ambushed me is a best moment for me, and I've been ambushed a little too often. Also, some of those impromptu fireside that I had to do when I had little idea about what was I doing were some amazing moments. And to top it all, every time I see Gary in the morning, he wakes up and he tells us about artificial intelligence. I think those are some of the best moments that I've had. And Gary, thank you so much for all the learning that you provided in the last so many months, man. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Karthik. But I keep ambushing you.
Yeah, 6 o'clock in the morning you ambush me. It's only 6 o'clock in the morning.
Thank you so much, Karthik, and we'd love to have you back on our panels. Everybody in VCTV team loves you as well, besides others. Thank you so much. And next, I have Gary. Gary, how do I put it? Which is your best VCTV moment? Let's start with the closing remarks, and we talk about your best.
I want to say thanks to Karthik. First of all, it's great to be here with everybody. Jose, Vandana, yourself, and Ravi, and Carol, who's in the background right now. But the deal is we are inundated with information around us. We're in a very special time now with the pandemic where we need to connect together. So social media is playing an even more critical role than it did before because of our loss of being able to do face-to-face meetings, et cetera. So social media has really stepped up. In terms of, my VCTV moments, every one of them, I can't tell you. I mean, I've met quantum physicists, astronauts, partners of Richard Branson. I mean, just across the board, it's like every one of them, and everybody that's here, everybody gives a little piece of something, and it's a great learning experience. And there's some great investment opportunities that come out of it too. So I encourage it for the viewers that are out there today, being able to showcase your startup around the world with a platform like this is just extraordinary. And it is difficult to go global today. So having these kind of platforms and investors to be able to showcase your company to is critically important. So VCTV gets a word out. It's an intelligent platform for extraordinary people.
Thank you, Gary. I love that. Intelligent platform for extraordinary people. Thank you, Vandana, as well for that. Last but not least, Ravi, this is your first time on VCTV. So what's your closing remarks and what's your feedback so far?
The closing remarks first. So I think the beauty about decentralized social network is it's an alternate form of editorial curation. Therein lies the beauty. It's an alternate form. Number one. Number two, the future is here and now, and I pretty much want to echo what Vandana summarized so nicely. This is gaining momentum, and we'll see in the next few months, in a couple of years, that the decentralized social networks should be part of the mainstay. Clearly driven by blockchain and more disruptive digital technologies like AI and ML. In terms of the closing, that's my closing remarks part. But in terms of the VCTV moments, of course, this is my first interaction / appearance on VCTV, but I believe the first in a series, so to speak. What I like to take away is that two things. One, that it's a platform, like Vandana and you quickly draw home the point, that it gives from a general alternative perspective that the platform offers space and time for that dimension A, B. And for me today, whatever I took away is that more than contributing, I'm also learning, right? Therefore it's a great learning experience, to re-paraphrase Gary. And I think it's an intelligent platform for smart people at the end of the day.
Oh, great. I love that. I mean, intelligent platform for smart people, intelligent people, and extraordinary people. That's VCTV for you guys. Speakers, investors, founders, entrepreneurs, please come and reach out to us if you would like to be part of this intelligent community that we have on VCTV. Thank you so much for your time, for your insights, for contributing those fantastic ideas, brainstorming, and also kind of differing ideas. But that's about VCTV again. Intelligent people make intelligent, give intelligent insights. Thank you so much. I'm back again tomorrow, Monday to Friday. Probably we are not on 31st, I guess, but I have to check. But again, I'm back tomorrow with another topic, another set of speakers. Investor entrepreneurs, please feel free to reach out to me if you would like to pitch your ideas and your solution to these investors. We can always help you do that. Other investors, if you would like to explore new startups in the space of blockchain, crypto, something futuristic, please feel free to drop us an email, and I'm happy to connect you there. And having said that, I'm going to see you tomorrow on another panel. Until then, stay safe.